Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode 4 of Two Dudes, Two Mics. I'm Dalton Wicks, alongside my brother from the same mother.
I am Spencer. What's up?
What's happening?
Nothing much, man. What we getting into today?
Oh, we are talking about sports in a COVID world. It's what the people wanted, and it's what the people are getting.
I voted for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be saving that other topic I threw out there for possibly the next episode, because I think it is still important to talk about, but, you know, sports stuff is here right now in front of us, so that's what we have to analyze and kind of start to discuss a little bit, and boy, oh boy, do I have some opinions on some of the stuff that's going on right now.
I have heard some of your opinions, and I'm eager to hear the rest of them.
So, the layout of this episode, we're going to try to keep things organized here. We're going to kind of go chronologically through the sports as they've come back from the stoppage, if you want to call it, of all sports activity. We're basically just going to be sticking to baseball, basketball, football, MLB, NBA, and NFL. That's what we watch, so we're not going to comment too much on what we don't watch.
Yeah.
And so we'll start with a little bit of MLB, then we'll hit into some NBA bubble action, and then we'll talk about the NFL. The NFL is still yet to resume, so we'll just have to kind of shoot the shit a little bit on what's going to happen with that. But first, Major League Baseball.
All right. Right up your alley, man. How are you feeling? I can see the look on your face is telling me how you're feeling a little bit.
Rob, what the fuck?
Do you want to explain to the people who Rob is?
Rob Manfred is the man in charge of Major League Baseball. He was voted the commissioner and has been in charge of baseball for, checking my watch, some amount of years now. And to say he's dropped the ball on what's going on right now in baseball and in MLB is a humongous understatement. Let's just start to go over a few of the things that's been happening. So I don't know if you're aware of this coronavirus thing, right? Like, it's a pandemic sweeping the nation. And
I think we actually did an episode on that. But I'm aware.
That was episode 1.
I'm aware of it,
Hey,
yeah.
Give that a listen if you haven't already. So yeah, this virus that we got to kind of take a little serious, you know, it has infected 20 Marlins players and staff members. I think it's like
on the Marlins?
Just on the Marlins. So I believe the number is 18 players and then 2 staff members have all contracted the virus. And it's believed that they all came down with it when they were in Philadelphia visiting the Phillies, playing a series against them in Pennsylvania. And the amount of fuckery that went on in this whole situation. So, first of all, let's just get this out of the way. So, we're going to talk about the NBA in a little bit, not get too ahead of ourselves here, but you're going to see a very big contrast between the way that these two sports have decided to try to combat the virus or not at all in MLB's standpoint.
Wait, so which Philly do you think gave the Marlins all COVID?
We're going to get there. So, with MLB, they put absolutely like no effort into any sort of like, you know, containment of the virus.
Yeah.
All they really did is they're having these teams play teams who are just geographically kind of closer. They're not having West Coast teams go all the way to the East Coast.
Yeah,
but that's it.
Still doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
So the West Coast people are still going to be traveling all up and down the West Coast, though, and all around the area. So, like the A's are even scheduled to go from Oakland to Texas at several points.
Oh, really? I thought it was just San Diego. I didn't know they were still going to Texas.
And so in the Marlins case, you know, you have a Florida team that's traveling all the way up the East Coast into Pennsylvania territory, and there's just no reason for this. Why did we not adopt the same bubble strategy that the NBA's
I was going to
adopted?
say that's that sounds a lot better, and we'll get into that bubble later. But
right?
Yeah, I don't.
It's
understand
just so simple of a concept, and baseball has all of these spring training complexes with tons of fields available in Arizona and Florida mainly.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, the NBA bubble is already in Florida. You easily could have just done an MLB bubble over there because the spring training complexes aren't near Disney World.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with this with this situation, so not only does Manfred just have these teams traveling around willy-nilly, so these guys are going to the stadium and then playing against these other guys who they don't know where they've been, and they're all touching the same ball and shit, and then they're going back home to their families, to their wives, to their loved ones, and just kind of, they're able to go to the store, go out willy-nilly, it doesn't matter where they're going, and so then, up in Philly, now as a result of all this shit going on, we have these Marlins players who apparently, and this is all just according to reports that have come out about like how they've got infected, right? So they're all in a hotel up in Pennsylvania and in Philly or around the Philly area. And apparently some of these players got bored and they went out of their hotel rooms down to like the hotel bar area. And we're just fucking around down in the hotel bar, and then they decided to go out to some other local places and, I don't know, like club, bar areas around the hotel, and it was just out of boredom, right?
Yeah.
So because of their boredom, they're putting these countless people's lives at risk just because they didn't want to sit in a hotel room for a little bit.
Do you know, did the MLB Players Association kind of make these terms like, oh, we want more freedom to be able to do whatever?
Yeah, so there are a lot of parties to blame here, and Tony Clark, the head of the MLB Players Association, and like union and like all of that, like there's many people to blame in this process, and he and his whoever the hell else is in charge in that standing, they are to blame here too, because it just seems like nobody here was really taking... I've seen so many players on social media and Twitter and stuff, Trevor Bauer, Freddie Freeman, Mike Trout, all of these very, very prominent MLB stars just criticizing the hell out of the lack of safety protocols put in by the sport.
Well, yeah, I'd be pissed off too. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous.
It really is,
and
man.
then this is what happens. 20 Marlins now got COVID. I mean...
And so what happens now is, the Marlins staff found out about it, and then they didn't really do anything about it. They kept playing a couple of games until MLB as a whole found out, and then they decided to start postponing games. And so here's where we're at now. Okay, we're recording this on Friday.
Yeah.
And since the whole Marlins debacle, the coming information that's come out as of now, 2 Phillies staff members now have the virus.
Shocking.
And 2 Cardinals players have the virus, because these are all teams that have played each other at some point. So this is that's how it spreads, man.
Do we know have the Marlins, or I mean, do we know who else they have played? Have they only played each other? Is what I'm asking, or are there any other teams at risk from?
I'm sure there's another team or two. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I think every Major League Baseball team has played at least 3 series.
3 series, not 3 games
so far.
Okay.
It's like 9-10 games ish, something around there. That's how many games most of the league has played. Yeah, man, this is just, it's embarrassing to see this. Or actually, no, it's probably more like 7, 8 games. Yeah, the A's are 3 and 5 right now, I think. So I think that's 8 games. So it's around that mark.
Okay.
But anyway, man, so as of today, as of Friday, 15 games have been postponed so far. That's surely going to grow even larger. And there's also a couple games that are already scheduled to not be played, so that's already going to get even bigger. This is just nuts, man. And then you got to take into consideration the incubation period of the virus and how long are these guys going to have to sit out? You know, how many tests do they have to pass before they're cleared to play?
I feel like it's going to be this quarantine keeps getting extended, and it's just games are just going to keep getting canceled, and they're going to try to set a date. Oh, we'll start playing here, and then as soon as that date approaches, more games will get canceled, more people will get infected. I mean, I think it's gonna, unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong, but it's gonna start a ripple effect in whatever division that was, where the Marlins and Phillies both got it. So.
And I'm going to say the other guys to blame here a little bit too, and I'm not going to let these guys, because like I said, really all parties are to blame here, and the players included. Because I'll tell you about another thing that I've been watching in these games. It's pissing me the fuck off. Is these guys were told about they were warned about any kind of contact, spitting and all of these other ways that this virus can easily be transmitted among themselves, and they're ignoring so many of these protocols. Like, one of the number one things you don't want to be doing is touching up all on everybody else around you. That's why they're social distancing these guys in the dugouts and in the stands and stuff. But I'm watching 2 walk-offs that happened recently in the last couple days, and all of these guys are... They crowded around home plate as per usual.
They're all close. Typical celebration.
They're all close together and stuff like that. And it's like these guys just don't understand the severity of the situation. I get it, dude. I played ball myself for 15 years. I know how exciting it is to get a game-winning hit, to hit a home run in the game, to do all of this different shit in baseball, right? Like, it gives you a shot of adrenaline, but it's no excuse to put people's lives in danger, man. You have to know the context of the situation you're in. This is uncharted territory that we're in, and we cannot be just for the hell of it, just because we feel like it in the moment and with the adrenaline rushing through us in sports. That's no excuse for us to ignore safety protocols.
I feel like part of that problem is baseball is so rooted. There's so many routines, superstitions, and all this stuff in baseball in particular, where like guys will, even because of this situation, guys will not break those routines, like hitting a walk-off grand slam like we just saw in that A's game where was it Olsen walked off, and then it's just a habit, like, oh, walk-off grand slam, we're all gonna go fucking give him a hug and celebrate at home plate. Like, nobody, I doubt anybody even thought, oh, I don't want COVID, so I'm not gonna go crowd at home plate with everyone else. Like, everyone just, it looked like a typical celebration, like nothing was going on. And I feel like it's such a part of the game, these routines, where especially for the players, it's so hard to break those routines.
And again, so this just boils back down to the selfishness a lot of people have regarding this virus in general. This virus does not necessarily affect everybody in the same way, so hence why you're seeing all of these tip-top shape athletes not give as much of a fuck about getting it, because a lot of people in their mid-20s, myself included, and people who are just more in the prime of their lives, so to speak, and their bodies are in good shape, we're going to more often than not be asymptomatic and not get affected too much by the virus. But, these guys could easily still transmit the virus, and like I said earlier, they are going back home to see all their loved ones. They're probably seeing their wife and their children and their wife's parents and their parents and all of these other people that they love and care about, and possibly people who are immunocompromised themselves.
Yeah.
Those are the people we're trying to protect here. It doesn't matter if you don't care if you get it or not. It's the other people that you could give the virus to. That's what it's about, man.
I mean, shit, dude. Half the managers in the league are probably super vulnerable to
exactly.
that shit.
I've actually seen on multiple occasions, like I think Davey, the guy's name is escaping me. Dave Martinez or something like that, the coach of the Nationals, the team that just won the World Series. Dave Martinez, he has a heart condition that's been well documented, and they interviewed him recently, and he said he's scared. He's really scared about being out there and exposing himself to the virus.
I mean, those rosters are so big too. I mean, how many guys are on average in a dugout?
Right now the roster's at 30 men, so that's like. There's a lot of guys out there.
Like, how many guys are in the dugout right next to the manager every game? I mean,
it's crazy, man.
you imagine if Bruce Bochy was still pitching, how immunocompromised he would be?
Well, I mean, Dusty Baker's out there coaching the Astros right now because they got rid of.
God, how old is he?
They scapegoated AJ Hinch is the main reason. But I mean, that's going to be a nice little segue into our trash Stros segment. But so Dusty's 70-year-old ass is out there, and he's just chilling in the Astros dugout. So I mean, there's plenty of guys out there who are not in tip-top shape condition who are easily going to be exposed to this thing.
So are we ready to talk about our favorite team of all time?
Yeah, so first let's go into the rules and then we'll talk about what's transpired so far. We'll get to the trash throws here in a minute. So to continue this, like, the debauchery and just the total embarrassment that Manfred and MLB's committee has put on. Here's the rules so far of this new season, the shortened season, and some of them may be permanent, some not. You know, it's up for debate at this point. But here's what we know as of right now for this season. There's one that I like, and that's it.
Okay, go ahead. What is it?
Universal DH. I've been a long proponent of this. I know traditional baseball fans like the National League and the strategy. They always mention the strategy that comes into play when pitchers are up to bat and stuff. The reality we're at in today's game, though, is pitchers don't give a shit about practicing their hitting anymore. They just don't. Yeah. For every one Madison Bumgarner you've got at least 20 other pitchers who walk up there, whiff 3 times, and head back to the dugout.
Yeah, it's always been pretty hard watching American League pitchers when playing a National League
team.
They
suck. They really suck.
It's like if I went up to face an MLB pitcher, it almost looks that bad half the time watching an American League pitcher hit. But so the American League adopted the DH rule in '73, and it's taken this long for both leagues to get the DH.
That's a long time, man.
Jesus Christ.
But again, I think the universal DH could be temporary because it hasn't been confirmed beyond this season. They're only kind of talking about right now, and they'll go back and readdress this stuff as time goes on. But so the next one, runners are to be a runner will be put on second base to start every extra innings game now. So if a game is tied through the regulation of 9 innings, in the 10th inning, each team, when they come to bat, will start off with no outs and a runner on second.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
That one was a head scratcher when we had watched the A's extra inning game. I didn't know about this. I was like, why the hell is there a guy on second base
right.
for the opposing team? And the inning had just started. I was like, did I miss something? Did someone hit a double that I missed? But I don't get this one at all, actually, if you can try to find any reasoning.
I saw someone make a great point of this, too, on Twitter, and I can't remember who posted this, but a guy had actually posted a stat and made a point about this rule. It gives an unfair advantage to the visiting team, and here's why. And he had the stats to prove it. So far, visiting teams are 6-2. With this rule in place. And the reason why is because the visiting team bats first.
Yeah, so they get that runner.
They're able to get that runner first, and then if they score in the top half, there's a lot of pressure put on the bottom half of that inning for the home team.
It's totally unfair. It doesn't make any sense. It's got to be an even playing field because, the visitors get that advantage because they're up first in extras. I don't get it, man. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth just reading about it.
Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of this rule at all. I don't see why you should reward these teams for not getting the win. And I understand their thought process behind it. Okay, they're noticing that fans will respond more to more offense and more excitement, so they don't want to see some of these extra inning games that just kind of drag on.
My initial thought was they just want the game to fucking wrap up. They don't want a 17-inning game, but those are the most exciting ones.
Because we see so many of these games where there's no runs scored between the 10th and the 13th innings. It's just it's just a total drag for casual fans to watch, but. Traditionalists don't give a shit. I mean, we like watching good, hard-nosed baseball. I mean, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it also makes that walk-off at the end that much more exciting.
Yeah, exactly. That's a 10th inning walk-off is like, that's cool, but you see a 15th inning walk-off. Was it you that was we had seen a 19 inning game at
we stayed
Ace
for
Stadium, right?
2+ games worth of innings.
Yeah.
At that it was Brandon Moss.
Yeah, that 19th inning walk-off,
Yeah.
nothing was more exciting than that. I've been to so many A's games, and that was insane, seeing a 19th inning walk-off. Like, I don't know. It just seems like kind of a lazy cop-out rule to me.
And the other major rule that they added, I'm very on this one. It doesn't really make any sort of difference to me. Relievers that come into the game now must face either 3 batters or finish the inning that they're in, whichever one comes first. So this is essentially to get rid of the left-handed specialist that comes in and face 1 batter and then comes out.
Yeah, and as a left-handed pitcher or former left-handed pitcher, fuck this rule. It's so dumb. It's like half the reason you got a few lefties on your staff is to come in and face that one tough left-handed hitter. Now that's out the fucking door.
Yeah, I just don't really see, and you want to talk about strategy, too. If you want to talk about traditionalist and strategy and, the taking that part away from the game, then that's out the window now that now that you bring in your lefty and he has to face not only the left-handed hitter but the 2 right-handers after him. That just completely does away with the strategy.
I mean, you got how many guys do you got in a bullpen anyway? You got plenty of guys to do that, to at least have one lefty specialist come in and then switch back to a righty or something. You got enough pitchers to do that, and I think that just this rule completely kind of makes that obsolete. That however many guys you got in the bullpen.
Yeah, and so what they were doing here is they're trying to attack the length of the games because they're seeing some of these situations where managers were making 3 pitching changes in 1 inning. And
they had tried to, was it a few seasons ago, they had limited the amount of mound visits? Or was it something along those lines, or am I just making that up?
The
catcher could only visit a few times.
Yeah, they've started to limit it to, I think it's 6 mound visits in a total game is your a total allotted amount.
Okay, yeah, and those pitching changes do take a minute, so I mean, I guess I can understand that, but I'm just left-handed, so I'm a little offended. I'll take that personally.
So, and then the last one that we've recently just got, this is a very new addition to that rule set because of the COVID stuff. And this is an ongoing situation. A lot of stuff could change, maybe even by the time we upload this podcast.
Yeah,
it's kind of a day-by-day thing with the amount of cases that are going on. But one thing they're doing to try to combat the postponement of games is they are going to implement double headers to make up these games. So a double header in baseball, meaning that they play 2 games in 1 day rather than 1, and that's going to help make up for the canceled games. But they're going to be 7-inning games. And why that is the case, I have no idea. But this is they're really going Little League style here. The only thing I can imagine that they're doing this for is to limit the amount of time that everybody is together in the same kind of area.
Yeah, and I mean, it would only take 1 fucking inning to expose somebody. It doesn't make a lot of sense either.
And in my mind, it just comes down to put the canceled games on the back end of the calendar.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't overthink this. You don't have to do these double headers, and I just don't understand why you do this. Or just do the 9-inning double headers, and if you want, implement some kind of rule where you have to shake up the guys who are in the game, or you have to designate a certain amount of guys that are eligible and shrink the rosters down to limit the amount of total people there. There's other
shrink the rosters anyway, but
there's other ways you can combat this. It's not like the 7-inning thing. You're just changing what baseball is now. From the runner on second base and extras to shortening the games to 7 innings. And they even called that game opening day. It was the Nationals versus the Yankees, and they called the game after 5 innings because of a rainstorm. 5 innings?
If that wasn't a bad omen, I don't know what it is.
Like, that's not a game. That's not a game to me. They can sit there and say that they met the criteria or the minimum threshold all they want. That's not a game. I don't acknowledge that as an official baseball game.
Yeah, we played 6 in Little League, right? We played more innings in Little League than that. Yeah, that was a little ridiculous.
So anyway, that's the kind of breakdown of the rules so far.
The big ones.
There's so much to criticize and take apart from the baseball stuff. But, now we'll get into some more of the drama, juicy stuff of like the actual stuff going on in baseball. So the Houston Trastros, I will not be calling them by their regular name. They are forever known as the Trastros now. Bang, bang, ba-bang, bang, bang.
What
those sign-stealing, cheating motherfuckers.
What a fucking scandal that was, man. That's still crazy to me.
They are the biggest winners, arguably, out of this whole situation because a lot of people have just not paid as much attention to them anymore because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But there is still obvious tensions going on. We saw in an exhibition game, 3 Astros batters were thrown at, and then sure enough, we found the Dodgers playing the Astros, and Joe Kelly stepped onto the mound. And he's a guy who's not afraid of confrontation.
Apparently not. He let one get away from him.
He threw a couple balls up near the dome. One was a fastball, a heater, that went up near Bregman's head, and then he had thrown a breaking ball up in near someone else's head too. And man, that was an interesting situation. And there's drama involved because he got Michael Brantley on Houston to ground out, and he went over to cover first base and got the out, and then looked back at him and said, "Nice swing, bitch." after that, and then so they started jawing back and forth, and the benches cleared because baseball is always so over dramatic like that.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of guys like, hold me back, bro, and they don't actually do anything. They just stand up out of the dugouts and they just look at each other, and then they
puffing out their chest,
and then they go sit back down, and nothing happens. So I was like, what the hell is that?
I thought it was I don't know what you want to call this, but apparently Joe Kelly after it said, he basically just said oops, like he didn't take responsibility for throwing at the head. So I didn't really know how to I don't know if that was an extra fuck you to the Astros. Or if that was
one thing he has going for him that I saw shared on social media the other day is apparently there is this video, and I watched it myself, of Joe Kelly in his backyard. He set up this pitching net for him to just like throw into, so he's in his yard and he's facing his house, and he put the net in between him and the house. And so he uses this net to just kind of practice his throws to. And I shit you not, this video starts with him winding up and throwing the ball and completely missing the net and breaking the window in his house.
God.
So, like, he's got an alibi for being a just really shitty control pitcher.
Or if you're a conspiracy theorist, he maybe did that video on purpose to justify.
No, it was an old video. It was an old video. I thought that was really funny. So, like, he's got that in his bag to just say, like, hey, I'm just a wild pitcher.
A little bit of a wild pitcher, yeah. I still think he threw at their heads on purpose.
I 100% do. And to be fair, so here's the situation. Joe Kelly got suspended for 8 games by baseball, and I think they are suspending Dave Roberts because they always loop in the manager because
it's always partly their fault.
So he got a game or two.
How could the pitcher ever think of that on his own? It's always the manager's fault.
And so Kelly's appealing the suspension, and there's people that have come out and said, it's complete bullshit that Kelly's getting this suspension, and none of the Astros players have received a single bit of discipline for the cheating scandal that they were proven to have been a part of.
That's what I was going to ask you about was their punishments for what they did.
So there is hypocrisy there because while the Trastros manager and GM both got ousted.
Yeah, I know they both got.
But none of the players who actually played
and took part in
the cheating, none of them were punished. But then Kelly gets 8 games for this. But here's what I'm going to say regarding the matter. This idea that it's been tradition in baseball for, like, when you break unwritten rules, you're going to get thrown at is total bullshit to me. You are a weak, cowardly human being if you are on the mound and you decide to throw upper tank 90s at someone's dome.
Yeah,
I don't care what they did. I really don't care. They could have cheated. They could have done anything. You don't throw at another man's head like that, because
that's what they made the helmet for.
You send him to the hospital, and now what? Oh, we're even now. Like you're gonna send a dude to the hospital with possible CTE, concussions, and all this.
It's total bush league shit.
Yeah,
you gotta be a bigger man and just beat the fucking person that broke the win the game. Hey,
you want to get revenge? Strike him out.
Yeah, I mean it's that simple. Yeah,
best him in the game itself and strike him out, and then you can taunt him afterwards. I'm fine with you taunting him, but don't throw at him.
Yeah, it's so fucking dangerous, man.
Like, I did see that Kelly was giving him the whole, like, whiny face and kind of taunting him afterwards towards, like, Brantley and Correa and those guys.
Funny.
That's funny. I'll laugh at that, but I'm not going to condone throwing at people.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, I'm not really mad about the fact that he got suspended. It's more just about the Astros should have also been suspended.
Yeah, the Astros should have already been punished severely for what they did, and
so
it's ridiculous.
It's kind of like both sides are right here. Like, yes, Houston should have also been punished, but also, like, it doesn't mean Joe Kelly doesn't deserve to be punished. Like, both should have been punished.
Yeah.
So that's that. And so the results so far of baseball, my A's suck as usual.
Hey, but that
they started off kind of hot. They took 3 out of 4 in the first series. They've lost like 3 in a row or 4 in a row or something like that. They've been on a losing streak. The offense has gone cold. The Giants have been surprisingly a little bit. They fought a little bit. They got guys like Yastrzemski and Solano and some of these, under the radar grinders that are helping win them ball games. But there's really not a whole lot to write home about in Bay Area baseball. I mean, it's still going to be your Yankees and Dodgers that are your Titans. Stanton's back hitting bombs because he's healthy
for now. So.
And then with the Dodgers, $365 million man, Mookie Betts. I mean, just today made an outstanding throw from right field. To gun a guy out
he
third.
Followed it up with a bomb next inning, right?
Yeah. So, your usual superpowers are doing their thing in baseball, but I just can't get too wrapped up in this season yet because I
have a bad feeling.
I just don't think it's gonna. It's not. Next week it could be done.
Yeah.
That is a very possible. A report just came out today that Manfred told Tony Clark that it is a very real possibility that they could be shutting this shit down if the virus doesn't get held intact here really quick.
Yeah, that's a very realistic option. It's just I agree. I'm not super into this season. I'm expecting a shutdown pretty quick, especially with this Marlins shit going on. It's not looking good, man.
So moving on to a sport that has had its shit together so far, knock on wood. National Basketball Association, the NBA in Walt Disney World, Florida.
Magical.
Ironically enough, in the COVID hotspot of all America, they decided to set up one of the safest spots in all of America because they have been doing consistent testing in the bubble and keeping it pretty damn closed off and well regulated.
Very, very few cases.
None.
Well, I mean, only of guys that broke rules.
Yeah.
So none in the bubble from guys that have been following the rules.
Right. And so, welcome to the bubble life. This is official Jake Gyllenhaal bubble boy status we got going on with all these NBA players. They are all confined to 3 hotels.
Yeah, confined to these giant resorts.
Must suck. We have 22 teams because we told the 8 worst teams, thanks but no thanks. You can stay home. We don't want to watch your shit anymore.
Yeah, we don't have to watch the Trainwreck Warriors this last season. That's cool.
Sorry. I'm a Warrior fan myself too.
Yeah,
if you're a Warrior fan,
they weren't looking.
Come
too
on,
good
they kind of sucked this year. Injuries sucks, but they'll be back.
Yeah. So
22 teams, and we are going with an 8 regular season game schedule. Each one of these teams is going to play 8 games of kind of like tune-up basketball, so to speak, and to figure out seeding.
Yeah.
They're going to keep the same standings from before the stoppage, and then they're just going to continue on with that. And so basically we're just going to be figuring out, most of the higher seeded teams are in already. We're just going to figure out exactly what seed they're going to be, and then we're going to see if there's any changes at the bottom. We're mainly talking about like Grizzlies, Pelicans, Blazers, like that kind of area. That's the really big hot spot challenge right now is the 8 seed in the West.
Yeah.
And so the rules that they set up for that is that if, and this is so weird, it's odd how they set this up. So we were just reading this beforehand off mic. There's going to be a play-in tournament if and only if the 8 and 9 seed are within 4 games of each other in the standings. So that would mean if the number 9 seed finishes within 4 games in the standings of that 8 seed, then there will be a play-in tournament. And so the play-in tournament's going to require the 9 seed to beat the 8 seed twice.
Oh, okay.
Kind of confusing.
It's not.
They're doing this to kind of generate some extra buzz.
So
and
it's like a 3-game tournament. Like so the 9 has to beat the 8 twice.
I'm still not super clear on how they're going to pull this off. That's just what I was reading.
Why isn't it just
that's straight off NBA.com?
Why isn't it just one game? 8 plays 9. Whoever wins fucking gets in. Like why isn't it?
I don't know.
Making this more complicated than it needs to be. It feels.
They're trying to generate more excitement and just more of a thrilling finish to this quote-unquote regular season.
That's a little, confusing. I don't know, really.
Yeah, that's how this whole thing's been set up. But so, the bubble itself, like we said, 22 teams, 3 of these hotels, they're kind of divided up evenly in between, each resort.
Does one get Star Wars Land and the other one gets
I have no idea.
Land I've never been there,
But I think it was Steven Adams who put it really bluntly, and I loved what he said from the Thunder. This like New Zealander,
he's great.
Big
I like
man
Steven
from Oklahoma City Thunder. He's just he's a funny dude. But he was interviewed by a reporter because there were some. I think Rajon Rondo, that idiot from the Lakers, started off this trend of like some of these players bitching about some of the stuff going on in the bubble. Like Rondo took a picture of his food. And then all of these people started talking about on social media about, oh, this is the shitty food they're getting in quarantine and all this other shit. And then Steven Adams was asked about like the conditions, and he was like, "It's all right, mate. Like, like we're sitting here in resorts, and we just we sit in these large rooms all day, and we get this food brought to us. Like, it's not bad."
Shut the fuck up, man. You get food brought to you. You sit in this big ass hotel. I don't feel fucking bad for you.
He was straight up just like, "Yeah, food's dry a little bit every once in a while, but who gives a shit, you know?"
Yeah, He doesn't need much to make him happy. I respect that shit.
That's one of the best defending big men in the NBA the last couple of years.
Yeah, he looked good.
So we'll we'll branch off into a little bit more of the shenanigans that have gone on so far with this bubble situation. So
I think I know where you're going with this.
First off, Richaun Holmes kind of started the stretching of the boundaries of how strict we were going to be with the bubble, right? Uh-huh. So first, we saw several players leave the bubble because of quote-unquote family emergencies.
I think, Zion left.
Pressing matters.
Big
there were
ones.
several guys, Zion Williamson, and some other guys like Patrick Beverly, and they were leaving.
So that was understandable, family
and
stuff.
they're allowed to leave, but then the rule
then they have
is
to quarantine.
When they return, if they decide to return, then they have to quarantine for X amount of days before they're cleared to play.
I get that.
So that's fine.
Right? And then
Rashawn Holmes comes along, and he's not stepping outside of the bubble for personal
family
reasons.
stuff.
He was meeting Andre, his Postmates driver, or insert Postmates name here. I don't know. I'm just making names up.
Jake from State Farm.
Jake from State
his
Farm.
Postmates order.
Who's probably got some fries or some wings for him, something totally insignificant. And
because apparently that food sucks so bad at the resort that they're staying at, he has to get Postmates.
And so Holmes steps a little bit across the bubble line because there is apparently like a finite line they cannot step across. And I don't know what happened, if like somebody snitched on him or how the word got out.
Cameras and stuff outside. They
But
want to make sure.
it was found out that he broke the bubble, and they forced him to quarantine for 10 days
Christ.
because of that. So I hope the wings were worth it, my guy.
Those better have been some pretty damn good wings, man. So there's been a few other players who have broken some bubble rules, right?
Yeah, so the other big one to talk about, and everybody's minds can go wherever they'd like with this one, but Lou Williams of the Los Angeles Clippers.
Sixth man of the year.
He was one of the people that left the bubble for personal reasons, and the reason is someone close to him had passed, or I don't know if they had passed at that time or if they passed while he was away.
Yeah.
But
So he left for that.
He left for that. That was the reason he left the bubble, which, condolences to him. Sorry that he lost someone that was close to him. But so then while he was away, he visited a well-known strip club.
Okay.
In Atlanta, which is where, I'm assuming where he's from, or like where he's...
That's probably where he was in that area, so...
And... he claims he was there for picking up some food. And that's it. And so the controversy that kind of stemmed from this being that it was a gentleman's club, people's minds started racing and assuming he was doing other things at this place. And
well, I mean, unless these chicks are stripping with masks on, I doubt. I doubt he was in the back. I think he was probably getting food. It seems logical.
But so the owners of the establishment, I believe, and people with knowledge of the situation have claimed that the stripping portion of the club is closed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They say that there's no activity going on at the strip club at all, and they're only doing like takeout food stuff right now because of the fact that it is apparently a popular spot for food around there.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Lou Williams has an item on the menu named after Lou Williams.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense then. Maybe he's like, yeah, I'm just here to pick up my shit, man. The shit that's named after me.
That makes sense that he would frequent that place or like that place.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that checks out there, but people are free to draw their own conclusions. But anyway, I think the result of this whole thing was Williams was quote-unquote kind of punished, and he has to quarantine for...
So you had said he had went out for the family thing originally, and then before he returned to the bubble, he went to this gentleman's club food place. So he would have had to have quarantined anyway, right? If he had come back from the family thing?
That's true, yeah. So
maybe he was just like, fuck it, I'm going to have to quarantine anyway. I might as well go to a strip club.
I think they were also weighing other consequences for him, like of going out of, like going to a quote-unquote unnecessary place.
He should have just went straight back from the family thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of gray area here. We don't know every single detail, and in my honest opinion, I don't see too much wrong. If I'm going to take his and the management's word for it, and that he was literally just grabbing food, a lot of us are grabbing food at fast food places and stuff right now, and that's not really a whole lot different. So
his is definitely it's. I mean, what was the first guy's name? I already forgot his name.
Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah, Holmes was more comical how he stepped over the line, got punishment. But the Lou Williams thing doesn't really bother me. It seems wholesome in nature. He wasn't being devious, I don't think.
Wholesome, I love it. Wholesome regarding a strip club.
The food part of the strip club.
So let's transition into what's been going on. So again, we're recording this on Friday, so we've seen 2 days worth of meaningful games now.
Yeah.
Kick started off. We've saw there was a doubleheader of Pelicans and it was the Pelicans Jazz, and then Battle of LA between the Clippers and Lakers yesterday. And then there was a slate of games today. I didn't get a chance to really watch any of the results of today's games, but we'll start with yesterday.
Yeah, I got all those games from today up if you want.
You'll hit us with today's game. I'm going to start us off with yesterday, though. So yesterday we had first it was the Jazz and the Pelicans. I just got to get off my chest real quick. I don't know what the fuck was going on with Zion's limited playing time.
Yeah, that was really weird.
So I understand he's had some injury scares, and they are really trying to be protective of him and make sure he's not going to go down with some kind of significant injury when he doesn't have to. And he did leave the bubble and miss out on some of that retraining to get back
nearly
ready.
as much training as everyone else did.
Having said all that, this man is the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
A absolute monster on the court.
Yeah,
and just a real problem for other teams to guard. When I watched him in the game,
he looked great.
Training or no training or getting his feet back under him, the dude was still blowing by guys and getting to the rack whenever he wanted. Like
he reminds me of that like Zebo body frame, but he's quicker than that shit. He's built to get to the rim, and that's hard to defend.
He came into the game and he was playing. They were doing 3-minute spurts with him at the beginning of each quarter. And in those 3 minutes, he was just there tossing the ball down to him in the post, and he was blowing by the guys in front of us. He was like 5 of 6 to start the game.
He was killing it.
And
And then towards the end, they had pulled him. It was still really close, and they were like, "Oh, when the hell are they going to bring him back in?" And they never brought him in.
And in this special circumstance with the NBA, normally you're not going to care too much about snatching that 8 seed just to have the honor of getting decimated by the 1 or 2 seed, one of the top seeds, because normally they're a lot better of a team than you.
Yeah.
But with a lot of these teams that are going to inevitably have the owners cry poor because, I'm losing revenue, we can't sell fan tickets anymore, and we're losing all this money, it is that much more important for them to snatch this playoff TV money, especially if you have a LeBron James on the other side of the court in the series you're playing. You are going to be drawing quite a bit of money in that series. And in normal circumstances, a lot of people aren't going to care about a 1 versus 8 seed opportunity game. But what the hell else is on TV right now? A lot of people are going to be watching that, just the entire thing, because they're bored and they just want to watch basketball.
Yeah.
So I just don't get why you wouldn't take that seriously. And the fact that they kept Zion off the floor for the final couple minutes when it was like a 1-2 point game, that is inexcusable.
Being a little too careful with him with your 1 pick, man. You gotta fucking throw him in, especially he was playing so well. You gotta throw him in, see what he can do under pressure towards the end of when the game's winding down.
But yeah, my takeaway from that game, I'm not going to make too many judgments off of just one game like that. But what I can see with the Jazz is they don't have Bogdanovich with them, and that's a big problem because he's a consistent source of shooting for them, and their offense just looked like a shit show throughout the game. Conley's very hot and cold right now. Gobert is kind of the same way. He's not reliable as a postman. He's all-world defender, but he can't be counted on like that in the post. And I like Mitchell, but he's a little bit undersized, and the pairing between him and Conley just hasn't worked out yet. And
they don't look too great together.
I'm not buying the Jazz as a contender really at all.
What are you talking about, Joe Ingles?
Joe Ingles,
fucking MVP. Yeah.
But yeah, the Jazz are kind of out for me. The Pelicans, Ingram had another decent offensive game. He's still very mellow-like in the fact that he's putting up a lot of shots and then having like no assists and no other contributions.
Not a lot of dimes from him.
So I'm seeing a lot of people showering him with praise in his growth as a shooter, but you need to be more complete as a player unless you're dropping like 40 a night, which he's not. And Zion's, they're going to baby him, and JJ Redick and Brandon Ingram are going to anchor that offense by themselves. So
yeah,
essentially, those teams will be either one and done or two and done in the playoffs. But now it's going to get us to the Lakers and Clippers.
Yeah,
where we see
that was a good game.
A really good game. You had LeBron and AD. Davis was looking like an absolute madman out there, looking like nobody could really take him on 1v1.
Yeah, he's pretty fucking dominant.
And I'd go as far as to say that, I saw someone make a great point about this where they said Anthony Davis is the best athlete in basketball right now, not necessarily the greatest player. And I could see that. I can agree with that. It's either him or Giannis. I don't know which one's better still. I mean, Giannis is still pretty fucking good.
He's pretty fucking good.
But LeBron he's got the actual credentials to be better than Davis. So they're a good fit with each other. They were looking really good. A lot of the Lakers supporting cast looked all right in that one. But here's where I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit. The Clippers were missing about 35 to 40 points in the form of Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams, who we just mentioned. So those guys are key rotation players who often finish games for the Clippers in crunch time.
Yeah, I think losing Lou Williams is fucking huge.
Harrell is always like their closing center and the guy that they're using a lot as just the small ball lineup.
Who are they throwing? Who are they throwing in there? Noah?
They
off the bench?
Yeah, so that's like the Lakers edged it out by like a point or 2 points or 3 points. It was a very close game. They won at the last minute. But they won a game where Reggie Jackson started the game for the Clippers, and this is 2020 Reggie Jackson. At the tail end of that stupid contract he signed with the Pistons, and they gave up on his ass and cut him, and now he signed a minimum deal with the Clippers.
He had a whopping 10 points off the bench. Joakim Noah also had a whopping 1 point off the bench. Yeah, their bench guys just weren't looking that great, man.
You said really... off the bench. No, Jackson started.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, my mistake. Sorry, so it looks even worse.
But and then the corpse of Joakim Noah is walking around out there. He hasn't been good since
caveman.
He hasn't looked good since Derrick Rose was in his prime. So when you take that into consideration, I'm gonna reserve my judgment in terms of like crowning the Lakers as the better team. They could very, very well still end up being that at the end of the day. But I need to see these teams at full force going head to head.
I mean, from what I was seeing, Kawhi, at least in the first half, he was looking just a little tired. Like his shot was flat when he was missing. All of his missed shots were flat. I mean, that being said, he finished the game with 28 points, but it took him about 1 or 2 quarters to get warmed up, is what I'm saying. So I mean, he had a little bit of a slow start. The bench sucked. Reggie Jackson started. It was kind of a recipe for disaster, I feel like. But, I mean, that being said, it was still a 2-point game. They easily could have won still. Let's see. I'm looking at the Lakers stats now. Davis had 34 points. LeBron had 16. Their bench didn't look too great either. Dwight Howard had 1 point to match Joakim Noah's 1 point. And he had Dwight Howard had all of 3 boards. As how tall is he? 7 feet tall? Is he 6'11"?
He's a pretty big boy.
That's pretty embarrassing. LeBron had 11 boards. Dwight Howard had 3.
Okay, so let's transition to today's game now, or today's games.
Okay, so I got the box scores. I apologize. I didn't get a chance to watch. There were 2 OT games. The Blazers beat the Grizzlies 140 to 135.
Game time, baby.
And the Mavericks lost to the Rockets 153 to 149 in OT. So, I'm going to look up the Houston box score.
Okay, so let's talk about this Rockets-Mavericks game. That score is an all-star game score where no one plays defense.
Yeah, it's a very high-scoring game.
153 to 149. It was like 85 to 80 at half or something. It was like there's absolutely no sense of urgency on the defensive end. And I was seeing multiple people on social media, people who are following the game, sensing that could be a theme with some of these games in the bubble and in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of these guys just really start to not give a shit on defense and figure, hey, I'll just go give it back
I feel
on the
like
offensive end.
I feel like these regular season games are being played more kind of like preseason games. They're not being played as hard, I feel like. Yeah, especially on defense.
True, very true, but is it a possibility we could see this spill into the playoffs?
I don't know. I don't know.
I hope not. I hope things start to lock down, and
I feel like they will. I mean,
I hope so, but I really don't want to see 150 to 150 in the playoffs. As much as it's exciting to see bucket, just like guys continuing making shots, defense is also a hallmark of the game. It's also great to see a wild blocked shot, or like just a all-world defender just putting the clamps on a guy and sending a shot back, or locking him down and making him miss.
Holy shit! So I'm looking at the box score. Do you want to fucking guess who led the Rockets in points?
Let me guess. PJ Tucker.
He had 7 points. So no,
7 points out of 153. Oof.
It was ball hog of the year again. James Harden.
Wait, which one? They have 2.
Oh, sorry. Tied. It was James Harden had 49 and Westbrook had 31. So they led the Rockets. Let's see who led the Mavs. It looks like
Luka.
Porzingis. 39 for Porzingis. Luka had 28, and holy shit, who is this? Trey Burke had 31 points.
Trey Burke, shout out Trey Burke, man. Max contract candidate.
Okay, I didn't see that coming. Man, I wish I had time to fucking watch that game. This looks like it was a pretty good one.
Damn, Knicks fans not going to be happy to be seeing that. Trey Burke and Kristaps Porzingis, former Knicks, going off in that game. Shout out New York.
So House Jr. had 20 points also. He was looking pretty good. Yeah, dude, it looked like everyone was fucking scoring out of their minds bench. Tucker was the only guy that scored less than 10 points. Everyone else scored at least 10 points on the entire Rockets team.
All right, so what we're seeing here is the Magic took down the Nets. The Nets are a shell of themselves. They've lost a couple guys.
Not looking good.
I think they lost a couple guys to either like COVID / opting out, etc., stuff like that. So their team is like a bunch of AAU guys at this point. So Magic took care of them. I'm not really shocked about that. Trailblazers beat the Grizzlies in a must-win game for Portland.
That was huge.
And it looks like Carmelo and Dame really put on a show to get them the victory.
Yeah.
In that game.
Looks like McCollum had 33, Lillard had 29, Anthony had 21. Yeah, all three of them really showed up in that game. Yeah, that was a fucking huge game for the Trailblazers.
Grizzlies have that playoff spot right now, and the Blazers are chasing them, so that was a big ground-gaining game for them. Spurs beat the Kings, kind of on that. I don't think either one of those teams is really going to be any kind of any kind of threat in the playoffs. The playoff picture.
I can see how that was a pretty relaxed.
Suns Wizards, who cares? Bucks Celtics actually has some ramifications. I was seeing Jason Tatum really struggled in that one, and the Celtics are going to need him to be the alpha on this team moving forward.
Yeah, Tatum dropped a whopping 5 points, man, out of 32 minutes played.
He was like 2 of 18 from the floor, something like that.
Yeah, not looking good. 11% from the field.
So yeah, they got Kemba Walker, they got Gordon Hayward, and actually, is Gordon playing? I'm forgetting which guys like opted in and out.
Yeah, Gordon played. He had 17.
Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown,
Kemba had 16.
But Jason Tatum is the guy for that team.
Yeah,
he's going to be the alpha scorer. They need him to be the man.
He was fucking electric to watch last year.
He was.
Before everything. Yeah, he was really fun to watch.
And so they ran into the buzzsaw known as the Bucks, and Middleton struggled in this game, I know, but I was seeing...
He still put up 18. He managed to put up 18.
I noticed that Lopez was doing his thing defensively.
Yeah, he put up 14 points too.
And Giannis is Giannis, man. Like, that's your reigning MVP.
Yeah,
he's
15 boards, 36 points.
He's gonna win the MVP again.
Yeah, shocking.
And I think the Bucks are going to be one of the teams to mess with in terms of the championship picture.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Everybody's talking
like
about the LA teams, man, but don't sleep on the Bucks.
I mean, before the season got suspended, I was going, it's a Bucks-Lakers championship. I mean,
I think that there's 5 teams that really have a real shot at winning this, and I'll kind of go over my explanation of why. LA teams, just on talent, you got Kawhi and PG, and Davis and
phenomenal
LeBron.
Talent-wise,
those speak for themselves. The Bucks, obviously, Giannis is an absolute
he's a fucking
wrecking machine,
beast.
and they've got a really nice complementary team around him. And I think they're just sick of losing in the playoffs late. They're going to start to really turn it on this year. My other 2 teams, Toronto, because of the fact that they, behind Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet, have just not given a fuck that Kawhi Leonard left. Like they're acting like he was never even there in the first place.
They're looking
like,
good.
Where are we going to handle ourselves? Yeah, we're fine. And so you got to honor the defending champs. And then my 5th wildcard team, as much as this team has been at the middle of controversy because of their awful road record this year and just clunky fit, the Philadelphia 76ers are not going to be written off for me yet because they can throw out a team on the floor that just sucks the offense into a black hole. Like, there's no way that the offenses can get any sort of rhythm on the floor. When you throw Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Al Horford, that is a monstrous lineup of all 6'7" and above guys who just have huge wingspans and are going to be disrupting shots all over the place.
Yeah, it's going to be hard getting up shots on when all 5 of those guys are on the floor.
Josh Richardson's there too. I mean, they've got options there defensively, and that's what's going to matter come playoff time. Now, offensively,
as long as Tobias Harris doesn't shoot threes that often.
I've been a pretty adamant critic about Tobias not being clutch in a lot of situations. But anyway, I think defensively speaking, they're just out of their minds, and that's going to keep them in the conversation by itself. Very good point. It's just going to be a matter of can they get buckets in the half court.
They need to get that offense
rolling. And the fit with Simmons and Embiid, I'm still not sold on it, man. There's a lot of possessions where they
pretty clunky together. Yeah. I'm not going to lie.
Especially when Simmons is off the ball, and like if Embiid's posting up or someone else has the ball, if Tobias is in an ISO or something, like Simmons, like he doesn't know what to do because he can't space the floor.
Embiid did have a few games where he just looked kind of cold. He didn't look like himself, and from game to game, he had his fucking moments. Don't get me wrong, but there were a few games where he just looked a little clunky. So
I still think long term those guys are going to be.
That's a good wild card team. I didn't.
Long term, I don't see those guys ended up making it work together. I think at some point you're going to pull the plug, and one guy's going to have to go get his own team. Just because it's just a little bit too awkward of a fit. Because in a weird sense, I think that Ben Simmons almost needs to get run at center sometimes because
how tall is he?
He's 6'10".
6'10". Jesus, I didn't know he was that. I thought he was around 6'7", 6'8".
He needs to get some run at center, power forward more often in lineups where he's one of the biggest guys.
Yeah.
And then they can switch everything. And then if you surround him with a bunch of shooters, man,
because correct me if I'm wrong, Simmons can't really shoot the 3-ball, right?
At all.
No,
at all.
Okay.
Like he has no floor spacing to his game.
That was making sure I got that.
So if you put a guy who's really good at putting his head down and just getting to the rack all the time, because he does do a fantastic job. He's a great passer.
He looks like he's a great power forward, and I think he should be.
He's a point forward in the sense that he's very, and this is a very he's a Magic Johnson light. Thrift shop.
I meant he has the frame and the style of play where he'd be great at the 4, and I think he should be put there, just to fuck around, experiment a little bit.
But he is better with the ball in his hands, so I'd hesitate to call him a power forward because he's a point forward more in the sense of a LeBron.
Yeah,
because he needs to be coming down the court with the ball and be the decision maker.
That makes sense.
Kind of like Draymond does with the Warriors a little bit as a point forward, where he's got the ball and he's hitting Curry and Thompson off screens. That's where Simmons is going to excel.
Yeah.
And he needs shooters. There's not Tobias Harris.
If he had shooters, then maybe he should be put at the 4
Tobias
5, right?
Harris and Al Horford lining up behind the 3-point arc. Those are not consistent knockdown shooters.
Kind of scary when you see Horford behind the line getting the green light. But it was a good sleeper team. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, so those are pretty much my thoughts and takeaways so far. We'll see how this stuff all shakes out. But I'm seeing those 5 teams as the teams that I think have a legitimate shot. Do you have any other insight to throw out there? Any dark horses? Or any thoughts?
I think my dark horse is Joe Ingles led Jazz. No, I'm just kidding. kidding. I don't know,
or
man.
Just anything to look out for the rest of the bubble.
These last few seasons, I've been starting to become a huge Damian Lillard fan. I love watching him play. I love his chemistry with CJ McCollum, and I don't think they're gonna get as far as I would like to see them. But I don't know. You never know, especially if Hassan Whiteside kind of gets his shit together. I mean, he's been looking all right down low, but. I don't know, man. I think if their chemistry kind of clicks a little bit, who knows? They could make it a lot further than people think they will.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say regarding the Blazers that they have going for them is now that they've knocked off the team they needed to knock off.
Yeah,
to
that
begin,
win was fucking huge.
That's going to give them some great momentum, and if they can slide their way into the playoffs and be that 8 seed, and then presumably take on the Lakers if they hold on to that top spot. I understand the Lakers still may end up running away with that series. They can give the Lakers some problems. Lillard and McCollum are going to be an issue for those Lakers guards. Like Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith, and those guys are going to have some issues.
I would fucking love to see J.R. Smith.
They're going to have some issues running off screens trying to guard those guys.
And fucking 80-year-old J.R. Smith guard C.J. McCollum.
And then with LeBron and AD, the Blazers do have some big bodies down in the paint.
Could give him.
They got Whiteside, they got Nurkic back, and Zach Collins. They've got some bigger bodies down there that can
they're not slacking as hard on the big guys as a few of these other teams are.
Yeah.
So they're kind of my sleeper, I guess. But other than that, I'm still going with Bucks Lakers in the end. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say right now, I still, because of the history with Kawhi and his recent ascension, I'm still not sold that someone's going to take him down because when KD was healthy, KD to me was the best threat in the NBA, period.
Yeah.
I think he had officially kind of taken the reins as the most dangerous player in the NBA. But now I think Kawhi has it. Like a lot of people are jumping on the Anthony Davis bandwagon, saying that he is great, he's phenomenal, but he hasn't done anything in the league yet. I'm not gonna start showering him with, he's the best player or anything like that. He's the
best big man in the league, I think.
Sure, he's the best big man, and that's in a league with not a lot of great big men.
Yeah, exactly.
And I still am putting him behind Kawhi, behind Durant, behind LeBron, behind Curry, behind all of these other guys. He has to win meaningful games first before I start putting him higher in the pecking order. But anyway... And LeBron's up there too, but Kawhi Leonard, I think he's the man.
Best. He's the best all-around player in the league. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Because of the defensive capabilities
is
too.
Phenomenal.
He just locks you down defensively.
He's won a few defensive player of the years already, right? So I mean, he's been this good since the Spurs. I mean, he started with the Spurs, right?
Right. Yeah, and he is also invaluable in the sense that he is able to slide into these new offenses like it's nothing.
He's clicked with 3 different teams.
He went
really
into
well.
that Raptors offense and it's like they didn't really skip a beat. He didn't play half the games, and then when he played, they just kept winning.
Yeah, he looked fucking great with the Spurs. Wins the championship. Oh, go to Toronto. Fucking looks great. Wins the championship. I want to go to the Clippers, and he looks great with the Clippers. I mean, this guy's fucking. He's a phenom.
So my pick is going to be Bucks Clippers, and
okay.
And I could change. It'll depend on.
That's very, very possible.
It'll depend on what unfolds later on, but I'm gonna end up taking the Bucks over the Clippers. Though I do think that Giannis finally makes his big mark.
I
on
think
the league
this is his
year.
time to really just fucking hammer.
It's gonna
it home.
help him. The Clippers and Bucks are gonna be helped out a lot by the fact that there's no crowd. The Lakers are benefit greatly from the crowd presence at their home games.
That's a good point.
And there's no crowd presence now, so that's going to be a big factor.
Oh, there's not enough Zoom fans in the audience for the Lakers.
that was really funny. But yeah, we'll see how the rest of that goes. And I think from here, we're not going to talk a whole lot about the NFL because there just hasn't been anything that's gone on in the league
not
yet.
a whole lot of news.
But we'll kind of talk about it a little, discuss what we know so far, and we'll make some predictions and kind of see how it's going to plan out.
So they have a schedule for at least posted on NFL.com. It's looking like week 1 is Thursday, September 10th. Texans at Chiefs is what it says on NFL.com. So who fucking knows if that'll happen?
Deshaun Watson against the $450 million man, Patrick Mahomes.
Jesus
Largest
Christ.
contract in major sports history.
I still can't believe that, man.
Again, the asterisk being that NFL contracts are never fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of that he's guaranteed. He's still probably got the biggest guarantee in history too, but it's not guaranteed he's going to get every dime of that contract.
Yeah. So on Sunday, September 13th, it is the Eagles at the Washington football team.
Which leads us into our first talking point, and that's going to get us a little PC. So the controversy around this whole deal with Washington's name, and for years now, as we've become a little bit more woke as a culture and finally kind of come to our senses in terms of race and offensive terms and whatnot, and I'm going to refrain from saying, I stopped saying the name quite a while ago because it's offensive.
It's a fucking
slur.
stereotype.
It's a slur.
Yeah.
It's a racial slur to me, so I'm not going to say it. But so the Washington football team has its name officially revoked now, and I think the Black Lives Matter movement and a lot of the racial injustice issues that have arisen recently in the past couple of years and mainly lately have contributed greatly to the fact that the name was finally pulled.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, dude, even as a kid, growing up, it's like you see the Cleveland Indians and then this Washington football team. I mean, you just look at these names are fucked up inherently, based on and you look at the fucking emblem of the Cleveland Indians, the most stereotypical piece of shit emblem you've ever seen in your life, like on the hat. I doubt they still do it anymore, but at least it used to be like that. I mean, I'm fucking glad that they haven't come up with a name yet, but I'm glad it's not what it was. It's about fucking time. It's long overdue. It's kind of a fucking ugly stain on the NFL to have a team named that.
And to anybody who is like a quote-unquote traditional football fan
you can go fuck yourself
of that area and roots for that team or whatever, here's the only thing I have to kind of counter any outrage you may have about this whole thing. How would you feel? Because I'm assuming you're white. If you're offended by this, like no other people of color.
Like, how would you feel? How would you feel if your team was named the San Francisco Crackers? You'd feel the same fucking way, man.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, how would you feel if your team was called the Washington Honkies? Like, I seriously doubt you would be in love with that as your team name because it's offensive to you, right?
Yeah, for some reason. Yeah.
But yeah, you have no issue when it's attacking people that are not really
a racial minority. I mean, fucking go fuck yourself, dude. So with Washington football team, it's hilarious in and of itself that they just stuck with football team. They are a football team.
Because apparently there's this dude that...
Yeah, I heard about that.
There's a guy that he's
trademarking a bunch of team
names, and then Washington's ownership and stuff, they just didn't know what to call the team, so...
That dude could get some big money if...
They're rolling with this temporary moniker for a whole year.
It sucks. The Kraken was just taken by that new Seattle hockey team. That would have been kind of cool.
That's a pretty fire name,
That
dude.
is pretty cool.
Shout out Seattle Kraken.
Never going to watch hockey, but, I mean, that was cool. So, another thing I wanted to ask your thoughts on about was this is the first year in fucking 2 decades where the Patriots are Tom Brady-less.
Yeah, I've grown up a big fan of TB12, and it's going to be weird to see him not donning the Pats uniform.
So he's with Denver? Is that right?
No, he's not with Denver. He's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Buccaneers, yeah.
That was Peyton Manning that went from Indianapolis to Denver.
It's one of those fucking teams.
So yeah, it's going to be weird. Him and Gronk both. Gronk retired for a year and then came out of retirement, and he's now... he had a brief little stint in WWE, and then
he wasn't retired very long.
And then he went and... now they're both in Tampa Bay, so we'll see what happens there.
Who's QBing for New England as of right now?
Cam Newton.
Oh, shit. No way. I didn't see that.
Cam Newton was signed by New England.
Wow.
But since you brought up New England, it's a good transition, actually, into one of the kind of brewing situations happening with the NFL right now. There is a growing number of players opting out of the season, and many of them are Patriots.
Wow.
There have been several well-known Patriots. I think Marcus Cannon, who's one of their starting key offensive linemen, Patrick Chung, one of their key defenders. A couple other notable names I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but they're having multiple guys just say, fuck it, no, I'm not playing. And I'm pretty sure what is a driving force behind a lot of these guys, because it's not just the Patriots. There are other guys around the league that are opting out too, and there will be more, trust me. They have an agreement in place, I think, between the Players Union and the NFL and the owners and stuff, where if you opt out, there's like 2 different opt-outs you can do. If you opt out due to health reasons because you can prove you're at risk, then you get paid a certain percentage of your contract regardless. Okay. And then if you opt out just cause, you still get paid like a much, much lower portion. It's like they pay you like $100K or something like that. But I mean, you're still getting paid $100K to not do anything.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys may just say, hey, fuck it. Why would I even bother risking going out there and playing? And
I mean, dude, how many fucking guys are on the sidelines at a typical football game? 22 guys on the field, right? And then however many.
And that's going to be another beautiful transition to my other note here. Social distancing with 50-plus man rosters. How does that make sense?
That's, more than baseball. I mean, you see how many fucking guys are in a dugout.
Baseball, we're seeing 30-man rosters right now, but an average NFL team under normal circumstances carries 52, I want to say,
right.
men on the roster, and that's in the regular season. In preseason, they have like 90 guys or 80 or something. They have a ton of other guys who end up getting cut and put on the practice squad.
They're going to need to throw their bench in the fucking seats in the stadium. They ain't going to use. They don't have enough room on the sideline.
I don't know how they plan on getting. It's one thing to social distance all these guys, but all these guys have to practice together.
Yeah,
they all have to be.
I mean, it's the contact sport. There's no getting around it.
Yeah, they're huddling up together. They're all touching the same ball. You know, how are you disinfecting all these footballs?
Unless you could find, if they could find a way to put some kind of barrier in the face mask, not directly like a cloth mask you would wear, like something on the bars of the face mask where it's not directly, but it's still kind of protecting them. You know, maybe that would be effective. I don't know.
Assuming we even see an NFL game actually happen this year,
until it actually happens,
I would love to just see a guy score a touchdown, and then as his touchdown celebration, just whip some Purell out of his back pocket and start hosing down himself, and then the football and just
field goal post.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty good. Yes, I mean, there's no fucking bubble or anything. You know, Roger Goodell's brilliant mind didn't come up with anything like that, right?
The NBA nailed it, and I don't understand why.
Adam Silver isn't a fucking idiot, so he has and the NBA Players Association was working well with him.
Goodell is the biggest idiot out of all.
Yeah, Manfred and Goodell. Goodell is
like on another platform. he's far and away the textbook example of how not to run a league, and I have several grievances from the past that I like. Ever since the Ray Rice thing, for me, how he handled that, like,
dude,
it's
that
just
horrible.
Like he's indefensible as an owner. Anyway, but the one thing I will say it's a little bit harder about the bubble idea with the NFL is the amount of players that they have.
So many
like, how do you
people.
even make a bubble?
Yeah.
Because there's
at least the rosters
close
in the NBA
to 100 guys on each team, and so you're talking about 3,000 guys that would need to be in a bubble.
Yeah, I mean, at least the rosters are smaller in the NBA.
And that's including none of the coaching staff, none of the executives and personnel, and the camera crews, and all this other shit they're going to need. So there's going to be a lot of guys. There's going to be easily 100-plus people involved in all of these NFL games. So how they're going to distance, that is beyond me. So I think that the NFL is almost doomed before it even starts.
Yeah, I mean, they canceled all their preseason, right?
Well, yeah, basically. And what's not going to help them at all is the fact that they're going to be playing football closer to flu and cold season.
Yeah, great. That's awesome.
So that's going to be another thorn in their side that they're going to have to deal with. So, yeah, I just don't understand why they... And so we're seeing baseball is not going to be looking like it's going to be lasting a whole lot longer based on that trend. And then with football, I just don't see any way that they can sustain play for more than like 2 weeks before it all just gets shut down.
It's not fucking looking good.
I was seeing some of the stupid protocols they're trying to do. Like they're putting plexiglass in between some of the players' lockers.
They're going to fucking put plexiglass in between the O-line and D-line when they're fucking huddled up too. I mean, it's...
I just don't see a logical way to do it. Because of the fact that they're not social distancing outside of the stadium and they're going to be doing the same thing that these baseball players are doing, just kind of traveling all over the place. Like, how on earth are you going to be keeping track of all of these guys' tests and if they're positive, negative? It just seems like way too much of a shit show.
So inefficient and idiotic. I mean, the bubble is working. Obviously, we're seeing the bubble work, and I know it's less people, but I mean, we're seeing the MLB drop the fucking ball with an entire fucking team practically getting COVID. So I don't see football. I'm just gonna say I don't think football will start. But then again, Goodell is such a money whore. I think he's going to try everything in his power to keep it going. But I don't know. We'll see.
That is very true. That's a good point because he's paid $40 million a year by the owners who like to make money, and the owners are going to want to continue to make money.
Those
and
guys
so Goodell is going to put them in a position to make money.
Try everything they can to get this season rolling, and dude, it's not looking good. Not looking good for football.
Yeah, but with the actual football season, if we're gonna assume in a perfect world that things start to iron out, and if we want to discuss the actual football itself, Brady with the Bucs will be interesting. He's got Mike Evans. They just signed LaShawn McCoy. We'll see if he's got any gas left in the tank. We'll see if Gronk's anything like he used to be.
I hear Antonio Brown is on the market after 8 games.
I don't see why anybody would give him a chance.
Hey, the Patriots gave him a chance for some reason, even after the shit that came out before that.
Cam Newton with the Pats will be a very interesting experiment to see if he can, 1, stay healthy, and then 2, regain any kind of MVP form. I think the real answer there is somewhere in the middle. He's probably an average, maybe a little bit above average starting quarterback at this point.
Mm-hmm. See how Mahomes bounces back after that big fucking win, man. See if he gets the Super Bowl slump.
Yeah, we'll see if there's a
$400 million slump.
Any kind of adjustment period from the rest of the league to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
See if anybody's going to kind of change their game plans, and we'll see if he runs into some struggles or if he continues to have that offense running on all cylinders, because we've seen a lot of guys like him fizzle out before. But he's got plenty of talent to keep it going. We'll just see how the rest of the league adapts to him.
Yeah, I hope that dude stays healthy. He's fucking fun to watch.
I think Mahomes has just like the whole package with the arm and the mobility and everything. He's just
fucking MVP, dude.
Yeah.
He's worth that $400 million, I guess. At least they thought he was.
But yeah, I think it's gonna be the Chiefs. They're the champs. They're going to be the defending champs. They're going to be the team to beat again as long as Mahomes is at the helm. He's one of those Tom Brady type dominant quarterbacks where as long as he's there, they have a chance, in my opinion. Because their defense wasn't even that great last year, and they won anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was sometimes the case with Brady, too. I mean,
yeah, that happened a lot with Brady's Patriots. Their defense didn't look that great. A lot of seasons where they still fucking won.
Yeah, the Niners, they got Jimmy G around still, but they lost a couple of pieces. I think it was Buckner they lost. They lost some big defender who went and signed a big contract elsewhere. They still have Bosa, obviously, who was an absolute stud in his rookie year.
That's still crazy to me that Jimmy G turned out the way he did, man, after backing up Tom Brady's ass for however many years.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on Jimmy. I think that he's been slightly overhyped. He hasn't really done. I see. Again, we live in the Bay Area, so it's easy for a lot of people around me to just get really excited about him.
Yeah.
He's got some potential. I give him that, but I just haven't seen the consistency yet from him that makes a good quarterback great.
I think the problem is he was sitting behind Brady for however many years. I mean, if he had starting earlier, he would have had that gotten more consistency by now, and would look a little better. I mean, he's still a great quarterback. But,
I mean, Rodgers sat behind Favre for a couple of years.
Yeah. But I mean, Rodgers has been starting for however many years now, and he's been able to get better and better for playing so long.
That's true. Yeah, I think the Niners offense will be interesting to keep an eye on, and if they can ride with Jimmy and if he can kind of really maintain a consistent approach there, the defense is still going to be a pretty consistent force, I'd say. But and then of course you got the Raiders. You got the fighting John Gruden's, and he's in year 3 of the $100 million.
Good old Las Vegas Raiders.
Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota. Those are the two quarterbacks that are going to be fighting for that starting position. Because I don't think Carr has it locked up anymore. I think it's going to be an open camp battle between those two, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, good fucking riddance from the Raiders from Oakland. I hate seeing those stupid lines on the field. We don't go to A's games anymore, but when we did, after
games
when football season overlapped with baseball, you see those.
Live sporting events. Those were fun.
Those faded football lines just look so stupid in the field. I'm trying to watch baseball, man, but I don't know. We'll see if Las Vegas gives them
brand new stadium for the Las Vegas Raiders that they get to play in front of empty crowds for. That's going to be.
Hey, same with the Warriors, man.
Ain't that the Raiders? Well, at least the Warriors had their first season-ish.
Half a season, yeah.
They got 60 games worth of tickets.
Yeah, that's pretty boof for the Raiders. Ain't gonna be seeing anybody in there for a while. I think regardless, I don't think anyone would fucking show up anyway. I think there's a lot of diehard Raiders fans actually moving out there, from what I've heard. Moving out from here out to Vegas.
A lot of people that I've heard, too, aren't opposed to making weekend trips down to... assuming
it's not that far.
Once all of the stuff kind of dies down and you can actually attend these games again, they're considering taking like gambling trips down to Vegas where they just go hit the slots for a day or two and then they hit the game and then they fly back up after the weekend is over.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well,
I just don't like the idea of a bunch of young, impressionable 20-year-olds running around Sin City as their first taste of having real money. I just think it's an awful place for those guys to be taught proper money management, how to invest and save.
There's going to be so many gambling addictions because of so many Raider fans going into Vegas to watch those games, man.
Sports bookies are going to love it, though. The sports gambling
having a
thing
fucking
is
team
going to
right
be
there.
Off the hook. And I seriously doubt the Raiders are going to be the last team to go there. I think there's going to be another team popping up in Vegas in the next 5 years. I'd be almost willing to put money on it.
And maybe another new hockey team will show up there.
Did they get a hockey team already?
No, I mean I was just talking about the Kraken from Seattle. Their newest was like, oh, maybe Vegas will get one.
I swear there's a hockey team that is in Vegas already, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Again, I'm not a big hockey guy.
Not big hockey watchers. But...
Sorry, NHL fans.
Hey, I've been to a few Sharks games, and I mean, don't get me wrong, they're really fun. I just don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, we just don't really want to talk too much about stuff we literally don't pay attention to.
Yeah, so sorry about that. Anyway.
And soccer, too. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I got to throw that out there. Not huge soccer fans either.
Soccer fans, you know, soccer. Okay.
Go do your thing. Every 4 years. It feels like people only care every 4 years when the World Cup comes around anywhere, however many.
Well, that's like a very American mindset. I feel like that's a white American mindset.
Yeah, you're right.
I feel like it definitely means more in other cultures for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's more prominent in many other countries other than America. But, you know, we digress. I think that's pretty much going to do it. I don't think we have many other things we want to touch on. That's pretty much sports in the COVID world today, right?
Yeah, that's how it's been looking pretty much since all this kind of started. I'm glad basketball seems to be working out for now.
Yeah, I think my predictions ultimately are going to be that baseball is going to end up folding here soon in the next couple weeks, and football is going to not really get off the ground at all, and then maybe they get a week or two before things get shut down. Basketball, I think, has the best bet because of the bubble and
It's less people
involved. So I'm fingers crossed that we'll at least have basketball.
Yeah, that'll be great.
But hey, at the end of the day, and if you take anything from this podcast, I'm going to just come out and say it. Sports are not needed right now. They're just not. They're not essential. We don't need it. I don't care about all the people saying, you know, it's a great distraction for people, you know, of all the people that are sitting at home with nothing to do.
So is other entertainment, which isn't necessary at the time.
Entertainment itself is just not a necessity. It's not. And I'm so sick and tired of people acting entitled like they need to have this entertainment. They need to go outside and go do all of these stupid things that put other people in danger. Stay fucking home, put your fucking mask on, and stop whining like a little bitch.
That's a good way to end it, man.
Peace out.
Peace.